Now that you have an idea of how you will put your essay together, it's time to learn one of the most powerful writing techniques around. It's called the anecdote. You are going to learn how to turn your real-life mini-stories into powerful anecdotes so you can engage readers at the start and keep them wanting to read more. Let's assume you've remembered a little moment or incident from your past. What you want to do is recreate that moment for the reader and help them experience it for themselves. You want to show them what happened. Remember, you're not telling an entire story in your essay. Rather, you're picking one short mini-story to share at the beginning that serves as an example of the larger point you are making in your essay about yourself. And that larger point typically will be about one of your defining qualities or characteristics. You will want to use this anecdote as the introduction of your essay, but even though it's the start, you will not necessarily start at the beginning. Instead, you start an anecdote as close to the moment of excitement, climax, drama, action, or pain as possible. Once you have an idea about the scene, how do you convey the suspense, drama, or tension from that moment, which ideally should involve some type of problem? Remember how I told you the best stories include some type of problem? Use the 5 H's, who, what, when, where, why, and the H, how, to collect the most important details for your anecdote. Collect specific details. To start crafting that moment or incident into an anecdote, visualize the scene where it happened in your head. Note the descriptive details you could include to put the reader back in that scene. Where were you? What did it look like? Were there certain sounds or smells at the time? When was it that it happened? Who was there? When you're ready to try to put together your little story, consider if someone said something that you could include as a snippet of dialogue, which will give the essay a nice storytelling tone. One trick to get you started is to describe what you were doing at the time and go from there, such as I sat at the kitchen table, or standing at the front of the classroom, or jogging up to the gate, or while waiting for my dad. Power your anecdote with strong verbs. When describing what happened, try to use power action verbs. Instead, I was going to the front of the line, say, I raced to the front of the line, or I bolted or sprinted or dashed. The secret to a great anecdote, chopping it. Even though these need to be super condensed, let yourself write it out with as many details as you need to tell the mini story. It could take a paragraph or even 2 short ones. Then go back and see what you can take out, and still give the reader a picture of what happened. Remember, you don't need to provide any background yet or explain what it all meant. Just enough so they can tell what happened. These take practice. One trick in editing down an anecdote is to lop off the first sentence and see if it still makes sense. Sometimes you can even trim the first couple sentences, like in this example. Remember, you want to get as close to the peak of the moment or event as possible. Once you describe the little moment, it's not always necessary to play it all out. Just stop after you describe what happened. This creates a sense of suspense for the reader and makes them stick around for more. Next, you will shift into providing background or context for the anecdote, but we will get into that in the next presentation. Now you know what you need to write an anecdote. The best thing you can do is read some samples of anecdotes. Do yourself a huge favor and read some of them in Handout 6 called Sample Anecdotes. Study how the student recreated that moment, what they included and what they left out. Copy their approach using your event or moment. After you have read some sample anecdotes, complete the Anecdote Builder exercise in Handout 7 to collect details to spin one of your own moments or experiences into an anecdote to use for your essay. You can also read Handout 7, which provides more examples of how to craft anecdotes from real-life stories and has more tips and tricks you can use to write your own. These take practice, but they are the best writing device to power your college application essay.